Hello and welcome to Master It Monday. I'm your host, Maggie Carey. Today we have an extremely special guest. This gentleman is a LinkedIn expert as well as a master connector. Mr. Steve Spiro is joining us today, and Steve went into advertising right out of college. He holds a 4th degree black belt in karate and a 1st degree in jiu-jitsu, so do not get him in a bad place because he can protect whoever you're trying to attack. So keep that in mind. He also owned a karate studio. Steve contributes so much. He has a never quit attitude. He is just an amazing, amazing person. And on top of that, Steve is a master connector, as I mentioned, with over 17,000 contacts in his phone and over 13,000 connections in his LinkedIn. He goes live on LinkedIn as well. So we're going to bring Steve up, and I'm going to let you find out more about Steve. Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Hey, Maggie. Thank you again for having me on the show. It's a blessing and a privilege to be on with you. Very much.
Oh, please. You are just a joy to talk with, and you have so much information to share with our listeners. I'm so excited to find out about your special tips and tricks on how to make the most out of LinkedIn. But before we go, I'd love you to share a little bit about your story. Would you mind sharing with our listeners just a little bit about who Steve Spiro is?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned a little bit of it, but, shy, introverted, picked on, bullied, learning disabled, dyslexic, growing up in the Bronx. And, my dad had a business. He owned a liquor store and dissuaded me from going into that. So I wound up going into advertising marketing, as you said, Maggie. High school for that, college, got out, couldn't get a job, started a company, and then eventually got a couple black belts, as you mentioned as well. Had a karate studio, but had a real illustrious career in the advertising world. Eventually transitioned into technology, and then eventually into consulting. Today I do business automation consulting, as well as several other entrepreneurial projects. And what's interesting, and you mentioned the master connector, so I'll go ahead and just explain why the master connector, right? Whenever I've done anything, there's a lot of components to my life, a lot of components to what I do professionally, and even whatever I do professionally, I believe there's a lot to it as well. So when people would ask me what I do in a networking situation, and I think, like you said, a lot of connections on my phone. I think I'm up to like 14,500 LinkedIn connections now. It's probably since the email I sent you, it's probably gone up that quickly. But when people ask me what I do in a networking environment, and I tell them, and because most people want to put you in a box, right? She's an attorney, he's a CPA, whatever, that kind of thing. When I would tell them, I'd hear back, I don't get it. And I'm like, just call me the master connector. And that name stuck. So today I'm excited to do what I do there in the consulting space. I also love the speaking side of things. I've definitely, my goal is eventually to be on a TED Talk stage, eventually travel the world, to be able to speak and inspire and be that beacon of light for the world, and really tell my story. And there's a lot of, there's about four topics I like to talk about, including overcoming challenges, how to go from being inward focused and self-focused, shy, introverted, right, to outward focused and others focused, to another one is on overcoming obstacles. And the third, which is I know what we're talking about today, is LinkedIn and how to leverage LinkedIn. And there's a fourth one, which is kind of related, which is how to really connect authentically. I think there's a lot of people that miss that, whether you're connecting on social media and how to really connect with your viewers and the people on social media, whether it be on, connecting on a video call or a phone call, or whether it be connecting in real life. And, I love to just talk to people in the supermarket and their gas pump and just connect with people and actually exchange contact information after that interaction, which is bizarre, but especially being a New Yorker, right? Most people in New York don't talk to strangers, but I do it on purpose. I love doing it, and I love connecting with people and really making people feel like after we walk away from each other, I feel like, hey, we knew each other forever, that kind of thing.
Well, you're so easy to talk to, Steve. You have such a, it shocks me when you say you were a shy, introverted kid because you just seem to be one of these people, you just go start conversations and welcome people into conversations and connect this person to that person because there's going to be some synergy there, right? You brought up something very interesting because one of the things I say is remember to keep the social and social media, right? Because I think that's something that people miss, right? They're always pushing out information, but sometimes it's the contributing in social media that provides those amazing connections with people. So, one of the things, because you have nailed it, we've talked about LinkedIn, you've given me some great advice on LinkedIn. I'd love for you to share, like, we talk about you have so many connections, right? How did you get so many connections, and then transfer them onto LinkedIn?
Well, that's a good question. So I think it helped having 17,000. It probably wasn't 17,000, but having a lot of contacts on my phone. A real brief story on that. So when I was in the advertising industry years back, and I'm going to date myself a little bit. We didn't have cell phones or anything. We had Franklin Covey planners and calendars and blotters on our desk. And when I had
I thought you were going to say a Rolodex because that's what I had. And I
that
don't
too,
care if I'm
that
dating
too.
myself. We
For
had
sure.
it.
There's definitely
It
the
worked.
Rolodex and the little black book and all those things. But yeah, so I had like I remember finally, because the challenge with the calendar was if unless you're by your calendar, it'll carry it with you. Who carries it with you? I was in the office all over the place and I didn't have my calendar. So finally I saw that there was what was called a Palm Pilot back in the day. So I got the Palm Pilot. I still had two things on my hip. I had the Palm Pilot for the calendar, and I think it was back then, I had a Nextel phone on the right side of my hip or whatever it was. And that was great until finally, I believe BlackBerry came out with, and I was able to upgrade, put in my contact information from my phone, as well as the company I was with at the time, their entire employee database. And I just kept upgrading, right? I went to the Palm Trio, and then eventually that's how the numbers in the phone just built and built. And I don't delete any of them, which I think is interesting because people sometimes call me and they don't know that I know who they are, because when they call me, I keep their number, I keep who they are, and I take notes. And if they were like did me wrong and they're on my phone and they have notes, I know where they're at. You know what kind of person they were back then. They may have changed, but anyway. So when LinkedIn, when I started getting serious about LinkedIn, which was starting to get serious in '08, was the kind of beginning of it. There was a function, there still is, where you can actually take and sync up. And I don't know the exact technical term of it is you sync up your contacts on all of your platforms, your phone, your emails, and you could sync it up and then where now it will do, you could hit a button and it basically sends invites to everyone that you're connected with outside of LinkedIn. And that kind of brought the numbers up quicker. So that was one thing that I did to build
And
the network. But the other thing is,
you can connect your email too, right? Like if you put in your
sure.
email, like because some of us have more than one email, right?
Yeah.
So
And I
if
think
you
you're allowed a
connect,
few emails. Yep.
yeah. So if you can connect through your email too, you can pull in your contacts and they'll
Sure.
try to find them on LinkedIn for you, right?
100%. Yep.
Okay.
And that helped a lot too. So good point. And then, the other thing that I did, it was an on-purpose event. I mean, whenever I met somebody, whether it be in a networking situation or out and about, like I use that, I would talk about, one of my talks is the three-legged stool of networking, right? Being social media, one being, the traditional networking events. And then the third being, I call unconventional networking, whereas the world is your networking event. Like we talked about before, being at a gas station or a supermarket or a deli or whatever, and just talk to people. But anytime I made interactions with those people, I would go on LinkedIn and I would connect with them, send a connect request. The other thing that I did on purpose is I was very strategic, and you could either do a search or you could you go to You May Know, and I would just click away and connect. And yes, I know the question always comes up. Do you put a customized message in that? I don't. And I think my percentage right now is about 75% of acceptance. So when I do a connect
Wow.
request, 75% of them accept my connect request when I send a message. When I send a connect request, not a message. Now, what I do, because I don't want just another number or another name, I actually, when somebody connects with me, whether they reached out to me or not, or I reached out to them, I'm going to send a message suggesting we jump on a call together. Because again, my feeling is if you don't know much about the person other than what that's written in their profile, to me, what good is being connected?
Well, you must be a really busy guy doing these
I've learned how to
calls.
manage it. Thank God for Calendly, because
Yes.
that helps me a lot. But I try to really, I'm very strategic. Sometimes people are waiting 2-3 weeks before they can meet with me, and it depends on that. But I'm going to be strategic. I'm going to be strategic about who I'm connecting with, right? Maybe it might be if when I was looking to speak with small business owners in the New York, Connecticut region, I kind of did searches on that, and then I reached out to connect with those people, because you could do a search with that. And then the challenge was, why I went to the premium was because LinkedIn got smart, and they're like, okay, we're only going to give you X number of searches. So I had to jump to the premium to be able to get that.
Can you share a little bit about the premium? Because that's something, on Master It Monday, I focus in on the free versions, but there are things like we talk about Canva a lot, right? And I mentioned that Canva is a great tool on the free version, but there's also so much more you can do with the paid version.
Right.
So what are some of the things that you've noticed you've been able to do with the paid version that you weren't able to do with the free version?
Sure. So the one is searching. It also gives you a little bit more latitude as to send out connect requests. I think right now there was a period where I shouldn't say the number, because if LinkedIn is hearing me, they may shut me down. But at one point I was able to do about 300 a week. I think now it's been shut to like maybe 150 a week. Now I get the impression when you have the premium that there's a little more flexibility with that. I might be right or wrong. The LinkedIn is very secretive about all the things they allow you to do or don't allow you to do, right?
Well, and two, like any social media platform, right? It changes every 6 months. We have to adapt and adjust, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the other thing. I don't do much with the InMail. It's nice to have it, but that's something that the premium version will give you. But I think it's only a small number. It might be 10 InMails a month. To me, if you're not connected with me, I'm not sure why you're messaging me, right? I mean, that's kind of the feeling I have. So just a few things. The biggest thing for me was search, was the ability to be able to have a little bit more flexibility with connect requests. That was really it. I think most people, the average person that's getting started with LinkedIn, or with, kind of moderate user of LinkedIn, you don't need the paid for version. I really don't think you need it. But for what I was doing, I feel like I needed it.
Yeah, and there is a lot of these little cool things that people can do, like with I'm going to just pull up your LinkedIn profile here. When you have your LinkedIn, this URL comes up that you can change, and people don't realize that they can get a vanity.
I discovered that recently.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, one other thing I should mention that I like with the LinkedIn premium feature, I should just say, is you could see almost ad infinitum on who viewed your profile. I find that to be valuable, because if somebody views you, that's a good chance they're interested. And then I'll send a connect request if I feel like there may be value if they viewed me. So that's a value with LinkedIn, not paid for. You can only view, I think, 4 or 5, and then it just goes away. It disappears forever.
Right.
So it gives you the ability to go back and view. That's a feature I do like.
That's very cool. That I love. One of the features that I used to love that we actually can't really use that much anymore was the remember, I can't remember what it was called, but it's like a nearby. You can search.
Oh yeah.
You could search nearby, and we were back, pre-COVID, the Microsoft store, which Microsoft owns LinkedIn, right? Had workshops. You could go in and get your headshot done for free. You know, they take your profile picture, not a headshot, but it was pretty cool. And then they had this, you know, they'd had these workshops, and while you were there, it's like, okay, everybody go into your LinkedIn, click this button, search nearby, and then you can connect with everybody right from your phone, which is kind of cool. So I'm wondering, like, you know, when we're at networking events in person again, because it's going to happen, um, you know, setting up, would you set up that? I mean, you could do it even though somebody doesn't announce it. You have to be in it to connect.
Yeah.
But if somebody knows enough about it, like we know that we can do this, we could set it up and maybe make some connections that way.
Sure. Yeah.
Is now LinkedIn, I know you have, like, you have a, I'm going to remove me here for a sec. Look at Steve's QR code. So Steve's got this QR code. Now on his QR code, right, it goes to, you have, is it, correct? I don't want to say the wrong name. So can you say where you got that from?
Yeah, it's a good friend of mine, Sean Lashley. He has a company called 10,000 Cards, 10K.com, I believe it is, or 10Kcard.com. Yeah. And he helped me put together a digital business card. Yep.
So in that digital business card, if somebody takes their phone and scans it, it'll actually give you links. And I'm assuming your LinkedIn is actually one of those links, right?
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
So, you know, so that's a great way to kind of get that. You can pull that up and people can connect. You can also get a QR code with LinkedIn, with your LinkedIn, and have people scan it, which is kind of cool as well. So ways to connect virtually, ways to connect in person. What would you say is your favorite LinkedIn tip? What tip would you say, you know what, this is something that I love to do, or is the best thing that helps me make that connection?
I mean, there's so many good things that I could tell you, but one of the things that I started to do, which I enjoy doing it a lot, which is every Friday I do what I call Fired Up Friday Master Connector Tips. And today's Wednesday, so I guess 2 days from now I got to come up with a video. And for a while I was doing a 3 to 5 minute video, no take, one take. I mean, if I stutter, it gets out. I was getting it out anyway, no scripting, and I enjoyed it. And nowadays I'm kind of keeping it more to like a minute, trying to, this new TikTok era, you got to keep everything to a minute. People's attention span is of a flea right now. So I'm going shorter, but getting video out. And, there's 2 ways to easily do it. For quite a while, for almost a full year, I was just going in, I was in my car because just out and about a lot, going to my car, turned on my iPhone, shot the video, posted it, period, end of story. Next thing, when we got locked down, I figured out that Zoom, right? Zoom is great. And you could record, whether you're on a phone call or Zoom call or not, you could still hit the record button and it'll download. And I'm like, that's great. So I started to create videos that way. So simple, easy. You don't need master crazy type of skills to be able to do it. And so I like doing videos. However, good engagement, and me being, a speaker, I want to make sure people hear and see my voice, my body, language, etc., which I think is important. But the interesting thing enough, if video intimidates you, for me, I'm finding that actual posts with an image, with a written word, is getting a lot, especially if you do it right, it's getting a lot more visibility, a lot more, action than the video, believe it or not. Now, I could be, because I'm missing the boat, I'm not doing the transcription at the bottom of my video. That might be why people aren't watching, because I know there's a lot of people that can't listen to the video. They want to watch it. And if there's transcription, they could do that. But I haven't been able to fit that into my world.
Your busy schedule, because you've got so many people you have to meet, which is kind of where we're, playing. One thing that I just started dabbling in was the LinkedIn poll feature. Have you used that yet?
I used it a little bit and I had some good success with it, but I just got tired of it. And in fact, I feel like it's oversaturated right now, but I do know that it's getting still, I think LinkedIn for a while was favoring the algorithms on it and liked it. And, if you're putting something kind of strategic and like Maggie, probably you could, and you may have done this already, right? What are your thoughts on the most effective way to master social media or whatever? And then whoever comments, whoever, you could actually engage with them, right? Which is very relevant for what you do, right? So So, I did some of the polls on how to connect effectively. What was your best way to connect? Did you prefer, do you prefer a Zoom meeting, a face-to-face meeting, et cetera, et cetera? So those were the kind of questions because they're related to a lot of what I'm about. And I found it to be effective, but it's just, I just got tired of it. So, but it's probably really still good. And when I see the polls nowadays, I just don't even do anything with them anymore.
Okay. Well, do mine, Steve.
I will. Well, tag me so I make sure to see it.
Yes, you do. Please do. No, but it was interesting because I hadn't done a poll and I decided I'm going to do it and I want to see what kind of reaction I got. And it did get 5 times the engagement of my other ones. But I think you're right. It's like everything in moderation. It's just like what you eat and what you do and how you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to do things in moderation. If you do things like there's some people who are, in stories like on Instagram all the time. And I get like, after a while, I'm like, I'm going to unfollow this person because I'm so sick of seeing them pop up on my feed all the time. Right. Like you have to marry that. But, I know you're so active. Like you've picked LinkedIn as your primary social media platform. And we talk about this, go where your people are, get really good in that one platform, and then go to different platforms, every once in a while. But build that strong relationship database in one of the platforms. So you've, and extremely successfully used LinkedIn. You were one of the first people I knew that got LinkedIn Live, which is very cool. We're on LinkedIn Live now. I'm very excited. And it's one of the things that we found, like, and again, I started doing LinkedIn Live, and guess what? My numbers went up because LinkedIn has my target audience, right? We talk about business social media. So when we're helping people with their social media, we have to, it's not a person that's, just the everyday person publishing about their personal life. It's about businesses and how they leverage social. So when you look at your LinkedIn activity, how just for fun, because I'm sure this is over the top, but how much time a day or week would you say you average spending on LinkedIn?
I think this is going to shock you.
Okay.
But I don't think it's more than 40 minutes a day.
No, that's great. That's, if your work day is, like 7 hours, that's like what, an eighth of your time, right? Of your day. But 45
it's
for
tiny.
what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just pockets of time, right? Like, maybe the phone's ringing. Somebody responded to my message. I do a lot of shortcuts on my iPhone. So you may or may not know this. Those of you who are on Droid, so I'm sorry for you. But I'm on the iPhone, and there's something called a text replacement. If you go to general settings, and it says text replacement, I believe a keyboard, general settings, keyboard, text replacement. And I love that feature. So I have a lot of text replacements that I use for kind of messages that I want to do regularly. And I customize them slightly, but so I'm
But it
able
gives
to,
you that kind of like almost like a shortcut, like
it's a shortcut. It's
whatever.
totally,
Like
yeah.
it gives you a text. If I'm understanding this right, it gives you like, let's just say it's a sentence or some words that you can then modify. That is cool.
It's a in my case, it's like a couple of sentences, 2-3 sentences. When somebody connects with me on LinkedIn, hey, it's good to have this new connection. But my feeling is if we don't connect, if we don't know each other other than what's written in our profile, what good is being connected? Let's set up a call to get to know each other, maybe see how we can add value. I have a big network. Let's see how we can help each other. Something to that effect. And it's written out already. So all I got to do is, customize it a little bit on the front end, and that's it. And so that, so it could be that, or sending out like, maybe, how do I say this? I'm sitting down in a room. There's a lot of porcelain. And to get that, and I'm maybe sending out connect requests. All right.
You crack me up, Steve. You're so authentic and real.
That kind of stuff, just taking off time and then just doing things here or there. Right. And that's a way that I'm able to utilize it and not spend a lot of time doing stuff. Now, I'm not counting my calls, because obviously I'm doing my connect calls. It's probably 3 to 5 a day. So, and they're half-hour blocks. I try to do them on my lunch hour. I try to do them at 8 or 8:30 in the morning. I try to do them at like 5. Sometimes I'll do it 4:30, but I try to keep it so that my day is my day, and I'm not interfering with my, what I do
Yeah.
for a living, kind of thing.
But I think that's smart. You take those little pockets of time throughout the day where you're transitioning from one to another when we need kind of that mental, "Phew, I need a break from things." I think that's great advice. Like I tell people, if you can spend 5 to 15 minutes on LinkedIn a day, it's better than spending like an hour one day, right?
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's okay if you disagree because we all have our opinions.
Consistency. I
But
think the key is consistency.
yeah,
That's the key to anything in life, success. And then I know I'm speaking to the social media expert, but it's consistency of message, consistency of effort, right? If you show up, being just showing up, people start to interesting, right? There's so yeah, being consistent is definitely important.
is
I agree.
key. Yeah, you know what I found too with LinkedIn, and building my network, getting the network going, right? The more I find that I'm engaging with other people's stuff, not just like putting things out, right? And you're really good at this, Steve. You connect with people um, in and other people's posts. Like I always see you in other people's posts and sharing other people's content. So can you share like why do you do that? What created that kind of inspiration? Because it really is what people need. It's not just about what they do in their own feed, right? It's what they're doing on other people's feeds.
Sure. I mean, yeah, 100%. It's there's ways that you can use, right? When I talk about the 4 building blocks of LinkedIn, the first building block is create a personal brand. Make sure that your brand is authentic. It's you. It's what you're about. It represents who you're about, and be very strategic about that. And picture, having image, the right image, and your about section. There's a lot of things, and then the next section is to put out the next building block is putting out good content, right? And what yeah, and so yes, one way we talked about it is doing videos. One way is actually putting out posts of your own, where there's an image or maybe a graphic and then written word. But another great way is to actually, engage with other people's posts. And I want the ability where when I put out posts, I want people to comment and share. And, listen, you can't expect what you don't do yourself. So I have to do it myself. And I've been taught, and I think Maggie, I'm sure you've been one of those people that have taught me this, that if you just like, it's not enough. It's just that you're like a LinkedIn or social media lurker, right?
Mm,
You can't just like. You got to like, comment. It's important if you can to tag the people, right? Now, I like to add, the @ sign and their name, right? Not just putting their name, but the
right.
@ sign and their name, so that it literally brings their profile image up for a second and you click on it. So you got to make sure you do that, because otherwise you're not. And then that person knows that they've been tagged on it. It's just extra things to add value for other people, knowing that, not hoping, but knowing that you do good, you eventually get good back. So it's just good protocol. And then also when you're commenting, and I'm guilty, I'm very guilty of this, because again, I'm trying to keep it to 40 minutes a day. You want to avoid just saying awesome post. It'd be great if you can. And again, I'm getting better at this, but you could say things like, something where it adds value, and you kind of maybe share something of yourself in there, along with just saying that was a great point, @ sign Maggie Carey. Make sure you have that tag, and then
Right.
you can say something right after that. So it's just really good. It's good etiquette. It's good, karma, so to speak. You give and then you get, and it's another way to get out your brand. And people start to say, because obviously Maggie's got, whoever else, you folks out there, you've got a network that I don't know yet. There's a good chance I don't know you. Now with 14,000 connections, there's a chance I might know you, because it's always overlap. It's funny. I
Right.
was at the mall this past weekend. This funny side note story.
You're a
And
brave man, Steve.
well,
Right before
I had
Christmas.
napkin and everything. Yeah, but yeah, I know. But I met some folks. And I made like 3 new friends at the mall. And 2 of the 3 friends that I met, we went. I realized that we were already connected on LinkedIn, so we met in real life.
Oh,
One of
so
the guys
cool.
says to me, he says, "Steve Spiro, your name sounds really familiar." And so sure enough, we were connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's funny, but anyway, so it's just good karma. We'll get back to your original question. Just get
Yeah.
good karma. Get your name out there. Get people in other people's networks to hear and see about you, and hopefully that will bring value and bring more connections for you as well.
Right. And it certainly is, that law of reciprocity, right? We always talk about great books. Like if you ever need a recommendation for a great book, I know this is off topic, talk to Steve because he reads so many awesome books and has given me a lot of different books to kind of look, whether business, personal development, it's just amazing. So, hit him up on LinkedIn and ask him about about his book recommendation. You want to know anything, Steve knows the best book for you to read. But what I'd love to do, Steve, if you don't mind us, I'd love to take a few minutes just to pull up your profile and share a couple of the things that you talked about so people can actually see what they can
Sure.
do. So here's Steve's profile. I'm going to just pop in. This is his LinkedIn. You can find him there, or I'm sure if you go to LinkedIn and just search Steve Spiro, he will pop up. But one of the things that Steve mentioned, now you can see here, he's got followers, he's got over 500 connections, which is an understatement. But if I click on his connections, I can see all of his connections. Now, up here on the top, I've selected people, but what I've also done is I've got first and second connections checked. Now, your first connection is going to be like Steve and I are connected on LinkedIn. So that would be the people I'm connected with and directly. Okay. But if I uncheck first and notice it pulled up Steve because I clicked on Steve in Steve's 500 plus connections and I say show results, I'm going to get everybody that's a second connection to me. It's somebody Steve knows, but somebody I don't yet, or I'm not connected with yet. And the cool thing is as I can scroll down, I can see like this gentleman has 44 or 46 shared connections. So this is probably somebody I need to get to know, right? And I can see who's there, who's connected, who I have mutual connections with, maybe a thought leader or something like that. And you can see there's over 96 pages of this. So you'll see the difference between a follow and a connect. If I decide I want to connect with somebody instead of follow, you can click on their name and then go into more. And then you'll see there I can send a connect request. Steve, I'm not 100% sure because this is a new thing that I've been playing with, but what is it called? I just forgot. It's creator mode.
Yes.
I just started creator mode and I just want to get over to my page for a sec just to show you the difference here. Before I had creator mode, I didn't have all of these things here where I had my hashtags, what I talk about. And it also does something a little bit different down here in your profile. The other thing I wanted to mention was what Steve and I were talking about, the editing your public profile and your URL. If I click on, I just did it without explaining it. Right here, I clicked on me, went into my LinkedIn, and I clicked edit public profile and URL. It's hidden, not hidden, but it's right up here. So this is where you can get rid of all those numbers and everything that LinkedIn automatically puts in. And get a vanity or a personalized URL for your profile. It gives your page a little bit of a level of, a little bunches it up a bit on the professional.
And also, I think it's good for Google searching. I think it makes you more searchable, I believe, as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
See, you
I believe
learn
so.
something new every day. That's why I say I'm a strategist and not an expert, because the experts in, I find it almost impossible to be an expert in one of these platforms, because unless you are eating, drinking, and sleeping in the platform, there's something new, something you don't know that pops up every time.
Sure.
And the great thing is to share what you know. Never assume somebody doesn't know, like, that feature. I happened to be in a meeting today and somebody shared their LinkedIn um, URL and it had those numbers after it. So I'm going to send her an email and just say, hey, thanks for sharing your information. By the way, I don't know if you're aware, but you can change your URL. And I'm going to give them a link to one of my videos that explains how to um, change your public profile. Or I could change a screenshot, or I could send her LinkedIn help section, like
Sure.
anything to help somebody get the most out of the platform is what we're trying to do here. I always try to share my fun tips whenever I find something new. Like, what was the new thing, Steve? And I didn't know if you saw this or we were talking about it. And Steve and I are a member of Master Networks and a networking organization. And when I found out that I could convert or add a video to
Yeah.
my profile picture, it's basically called a cover story.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh my God, I was so excited.
And
Like,
I'll give you one other thing. Like you did it, you did it in a it looks like on a cell phone video,
yes.
but you can do it on the Zoom and in the video, so it's landscape if you want as well.
Oh,
Yeah, you just
so
have to
Steve, have you done that?
I did. Mine is that way.
Let's take a look. So, yeah, awesome.
So it's interesting how it's showing up as a little in the vertical. That's interesting. So that might
Yeah.
be, maybe it is better to do it as a phone. I assumed it was going to be stay landscaping, but okay. I just learned something myself. Yeah.
See, but this is the thing, right? We help each other. We figure it out. Like, when I was reading the instructions on how to do it, it said to do it on you had to do it on your phone. So I just did it on my phone. But it was
See, you read
so
instructions. I don't read instructions. That's one of my downfalls.
I don't want to be sexist, Steve, but
Learning disabled dyslexic. That's the problem on my end.
uh,
Yeah.
but you know what? You still have it. Like, the thing is that you do it. Don't wait for it to be perfect, right? We talk about that all the time, right? Don't wait to be perfect. Go through, like, every once in a while we'll be on a live. I was telling Steve, I flub up. I make I try to speak in clear and simple language, and sometimes I stutter over a word or a flub. It's human nature, and I
Sure.
think that also allows you that authenticity that we find lacking sometime in social media. So
Yeah.
be and you mentioned building a personal brand on so we have, like, I have a Master at Media business to page on LinkedIn, and I also have my personal profile. Your
Sure.
personal profile is that place where you've got to showcase who you are and all of that. Steve, any last words of wisdom before I let you go?
Well, I just want to mention, if you bring up the profile for a second, one more time.
Oh, sure.
You probably know about this also, Maggie, but if you see there's a little, next to my name, there's a little, looks like a little speaker thingy. So
Yes.
that's another thing that you could do. And don't just use it, as you're, pronouncing your name, but you could use it. I think it's like, I want to say
10
either 30.
seconds.
Yeah, you could use it to say, hey, Steve Spiro, I'd love to connect with you or whatever. So again, it's real estate that you could use. Don't just use it, especially if your name is John Smith. I don't think you need to have anyone have to figure out how to pronounce your name. You could use it for some other reason. So, but yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. But
I know, I appreciate that. And again, the profile picture and that pronunciation. It's technically supposed to be used for pronunciation, but Steve's right. You got 10 seconds of real estate there, of audio real estate. Use it.
Yeah.
Both of those you can only do on your phone. You can only record them on your phone or load them on your phone. So remember, and that goes with a lot of social media platforms. There are some things that you can do on your cell phone that you can't do on your desktop. So keep that in mind. If you don't find a feature, check it out on your cell phone, because that might be a great place to go. So I strongly encourage my listeners here, pop over to Steve, connect with him, tell him that you found him through our Master at Monday, and give him some love. He has always great insight and wonderful information. Visit him online at stevespiro.com. Meet up with us on Tuesday mornings at 8 o'clock with the Gold Coast chapter of Master Networks. We meet right every Tuesday, 8 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Eastern.
Yep.
And Gold Coast is not California. Gold Coast is
right.
Connecticut.
Yep.
In our world. So that's Greenwich, Cobb, Stamford, Connecticut area. But we're virtual, and we'll probably remain virtual for quite some time. So you can always pop on over to masternetworksnyct.com and join Steve and I. We love visitors, don't we, Steve?
100%. Well, Maggie, I really appreciate this, and I just want to say, you're very humble too, but you are an incredible resource, and the reason that you're an amazing resource is because you're a go-giver. If you saw my profile, I have it in there. I asked Bob Berg, who wrote the book, who was on our LinkedIn Live show recently. I said, "Is it okay if I put that in there?" And he said, "Thank you for asking. Most people don't ask; they put it on there and they don't ask." But just be a go-giver. Be like Maggie. Be somebody who's just always willing to give. And if you give, eventually you get. If you go out there with a heart of, how can I serve? How can I help? How can I be a blessing? Good things will come back to you. Yeah. Let's avoid the pitch. I love what Tina Campbell says. Let's ditch the pitch.
Ditch the pitch.
It's not about pitching. It's about seeing how you can add value, getting to know people, connecting with people. And once you do that and you find their needs, wants, and desires, then you can find ways, maybe it's your services, that you can help them. So that's my parting words for you guys.
I love that. And actually, Steve, you were the one who recommended that I read The Go-Giver. And when I read it, I'm like, this is what I learned in Catholic school when I was a kid. Like, this is what you were supposed to do. You're supposed to be,
right.
Serve people, right? The golden rule, right? These are things that I think, it resonated so much with me. That book was so great. And like I said, Steve's always got a good book to recommend. And The Go-Giver is one of those books that it's amazing how, and I love the way it's written. It's in a story. We talk about telling stories, right? You follow this journey, and it's just an amazing piece of literature, just on its own. But if you really embrace what's being said and just do it, it was, I don't know, it was sort of like, it was one of those things that after I read it, I just felt really good.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a warm, it's just a great book. So I appreciate that, Stephen. And thank you so much for joining us on Master at Monday.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure you check out Steve on his, on his live. Steve, you also go live
Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern, just before your show. And we are going to take a week off this Monday, but we are going to be on Monday the 3rd. So we're going to be with the famous Dr. Dre of Yo MTV Raps.
Cool.
He's going to be on our show along with Sarah, Angela Shaw, I think is her name, and Bernadette Floyd. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be talking about breaking barriers through access. It's going to be a really, really cool show. So 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday the 3rd will be that show.
And they'll find that on your LinkedIn, right? It's LinkedIn Live.
LinkedIn Live, yes.
And then the Friday one, is that also live?
It's a video. I just post it, and whenever I get it done, I get it done. And sometimes I'm getting it done at 5 o'clock, 5:30. And I've done a few times on Saturday because I just couldn't get get it done on Friday. But yeah, typically it's
That's amazing.
video. Yeah.
It's really great. And thank you for always sharing such wonderful tips and advice, Steve. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Well, that's our show for the day. Remember, check out masteritmedia.com. We're always on our socials everywhere on, whatever the platform is /masteritmedia. That's where you'll find us. If you are enjoying this video and you want more from Steve, make sure you leave him some love in the comments below. We'll make sure that we bring him on another time if he would enjoy being another guest. We just have to make it work since we both have back-to-back meetings with our lives. So remember, here at Master It Media, we're here to help you take the commotion out of your promotion. We'll see you next Monday at 2 o'clock. Have a great week, everybody.